Food was everything. Food helped to heal me. The truth is, and where we are today with the data, it is the quality of your relationships determine how long you're going to live and live healthfully. I've been told it was impossible for me to heal. And these people have been told these same stories or something similar. And now they're getting well and they're getting these results. The most valuable thing you can do for yourself, for your health and your future, is to spend more time being human and spend more time around real people in the real world. Wouldn't our attention be better focused cultivating healthy relationships that are supportive of our health goals? And that's where we're being robbed in our education.
Where did you learn that? Did your parents model that? Was it a skill that you then picked up as a married person?
Thank you for asking this question.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Besides being with people that I love, one of the greatest honors is just to be with and around greatness and great people. And I believe today is going to be a treat for all of us. So my guest today, you probably know him. He's always found his own way when it comes to health, realizing at an early age, like in high school and college, that one size really doesn't fit all of us. And he's had his ups and downs when it came to his fitness, nutrition, and vitality, and found that by solving some of his own health issues, he could turn around and help others reclaim their wellness. And he began by training friends in the gym for a price of a smoothie. And I mean a smoothie what they cost 20 years ago. And today, he runs the #1 health podcast. I've been a fan and a friend of his for years. And if you're just meeting him today, I'm confident you will be too. Please welcome to the show, author, entrepreneur, and creator of the Model Health Show, Shawn Stevenson, in a way that you may not have seen him. This interview is very, very personal. And to be honest, it surprised me a lot. And it really was a reminder that still each day we're all getting up and just doing the best that we can. This podcast is brought to you by Vionic. I mean, besides my friends and family, I really believe the greatest thing that we all own is our health. And for me, a lot of that health starts from the ground up, literally. So I've always had this kind of love-hate relationship with shoes. I used to be a size 11, now I'm a size 12, and I could find great shoes for training, easy, even if I had to wear boys' shoes. But when it came to everyday life, kind of no chance. I mean, it was like, get the shoes first, find the outfit to match. And comfort usually meant sacrificing style. So that is until I found Vionic. I've been wearing Vionic shoes for years. They feel like recovery sneakers, but they look like chic flats or beautiful loafers, and they've completely changed how I move throughout my day. They just help me feel grounded, supported, and confident. Plus, I just like to look down at my feet and see them. And I want that for you too. And I love that Vionic starts with science. Their shoes are built on something called biomechanics. They finished with thoughtful, beautiful, versatile design. I wear them when I'm with Laird, my husband, my friends, maybe when I'm traveling, those airport feet, how much that can hurt, or just running day-to-day errands. And for me, everything starts with intention. And most days that begins in a movement practice, bringing mindfulness to how I want to move throughout my day. And asking, do you feel grounded? And how do you want to move throughout your day? And because just like your nutrition and your rest and your mindset, what you put on your feet really does matter. I mean, there's nothing worse than, those aching feet. So if you're interested in Vionic, use the code Gabby, Gabby, at checkout for 15% off your entire order. All you have to do is go to vionicshoes.com. That's VIONICSHOES.com. And when you log into your account, one-time use only. Vionic shoes, they're wearable well-being for your feet. Shawn Stevenson, welcome to the show.
It's an honor. Happy to be here.
So I've been thinking a lot about, this because you have an incredible podcast that's hugely successful. Congratulations. How many years are you at this now with the Model Health Show?
Getting close to 13.
Come on.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Yeah.
Is it still fun?
I love it. Yeah.
I'd love to actually talk, since we're on it, the evolution of your approach as the years have gone. What do you do differently that serves where you're at now in the conversation?
Just that question got me thinking back to the origin, because I was doing some podcasting 2 years before that for another show. At this time I was working as a nutritionist. I was like teaching nutrition classes and I was speaking at some events, but I was invited to speak at TEDx Sin City. So it was in Las Vegas. It was my first time
That
ever
seems
going
like
to
an
Vegas.
oxymoron. Let me tell you how to get healthy and do good, and we'll do it in Vegas.
Yes, emphasis on the sin. But so we went, and my wife was actually pregnant with my youngest son, who's about to turn 14. She was pregnant with him, and I met a couple before I did my talk. It was Jim Quick. My buddy Jim Quick introduced me to this couple. And how some people, if they don't know who you are, you're somebody, it's just kind of like in passing, whatever. But after I finished my talk, they came up to me. They're like, "Oh my God, you're amazing. Like, have you ever thought about, working with, a brand or like a company? We have this incredible online health site." And they had 1 million unique visitors a month. And at the time I had like 10 coming to my website. And they were like, "We just started this podcast and we're looking for somebody to be like the face, the resident nutritionist of this podcast." And I thought about it for a little bit and I was like, all right, I'll do it. But in my head, I was like, what the fuck is a podcast? I didn't even know what it was. But I agreed to do it. And for about 1.5 years, I did everything myself. I recorded with my Yeti microphone that I still have. I used GarageBand and edited everything. I sent in this complete product, whether it was a solo show where I'm doing like a masterclass on some subject or interviewing, a world authority on something. And it was great. We had hundreds of thousands of downloads back in 2011, 2012. But I didn't understand still the power that it had. And eventually, it was about 1.5 years, thanks to my wife. She was like, "You are building their brand. Like, what are you doing for us and for our brand?" And so we amicably parted ways, and I started the Model Health Show. But now I worked out the kinks, which I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. That's what holds them back from getting started or being consistent in the thing. They're so worried about how things are going to go. And so when I started the first episode of the Model Health Show,
Were you solo or did you have a guest?
Now, that is a great question too, because even though I'm saying this, I'm getting chills because from another speaking event, I met the MC and she was a producer at iHeartRadio. And so she invited me into the studio and I started coming on the radio in St. Louis. And so when I started my show, I started recording at iHeartRadio. She was my producer and kind of like my co-host as well, to start the show. And so that was for the first few years, it was her and I.
You said something earlier though that's really important. We're always afraid of looking bad, of not being perfect. What if it's not good? Why do you think, and by the way, you moved on top of it, right? So not only, okay, yes, a certain level of success, but then you move your whole life to the West Coast. What is that? Is that faith? Is that a whisper? Is that it looked proof of concept good enough, so now we can go? Like, what was it for you?
All of that. It was all of that. I tend to be a very analytical person, so I think through things. I think about scenarios, but also I understand the power, and I had to use logic initially, but I understand the power of our intuition. And for me, intuition was kind of like advanced pattern recognition, but it's deeper than that. We can't really even explain it, but it helped me to like lean into that more. And so I knew it was the right thing to do. And so, yes, I would come out here and speak. Most of the time when I was speaking, it was out here, go to the ocean and just all the things. And the ease of these moments happening was the like biggest leverage point. Because for us, like literally, we can have this conversation. I could be over at your house.
Yeah.
And people are coming through LA, and you have these seemingly magical, like synchronicities taking place where I can have the top authority in, this top gastroenterologist in the world just is like happens to be there. And we can record tomorrow, like these kind of things. It gave me much more grace and flexibility. Because in St. Louis, having the top health show, people were flying in now, coming into St. Louis.
Sure.
But it's kind of, it's like a flyover state a lot of times, and it was always scheduling. It was difficult. It was complex. But, that's really it. It was a combination of things that brought me here. The timing, though, I came here at the end of 2019, right before 2020. And while I moved here, I was halfway through my book that came out the last week of 2020.
That's when I met you, right?
Eat Smarter. Yeah. You met me around that time. And I was about halfway through the book. So I was writing a book. moved my family across the country, but it felt so good. Like it felt natural and normal. I was like going to the studio once a week, connecting with these amazing people. And the rest of the time I was reading and writing. And, you know, once I completed the book, I turned it in it was almost midnight, December 31st, 2019. I turned the book in.
Oh my gosh.
And then, so now I'm like, but I wasn't really doing stuff in LA yet because I was just like locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I'm going to take tomorrow off. It's my wife's birthday on January 1st.
Oh, I have a January 1st daughter.
Come on, the best.
Yeah. She's not stubborn, your wife, I'm sure.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. But I took that day off. The next day, I was like, okay, now I keep the focus on me. And this is the caveat. It's not really healthy writing a health book. All right.
Yeah.
It is so much unordinary time at the computer. And I was trying to balance it, but also I didn't take into account the amount of stress that was just in my psyche and in my body and my nervous system, moving my family across the country and not getting a chance to really get grounded. And so January 2nd, I got injured. I ruptured a disc.
Mm-hmm.
And now...
Isn't that crazy how that is?
It's bonkers.
Well, listen, you know, I've talked about wellness or health a long time, and we spend all this energy on, measuring things, measuring food, important, measuring, movement, important, sleep, very important, looking at sunlight, really important. But we always forget that the stress of our lives and maybe sitting and all these things really, I don't know. It's like we don't honor what that does for us in the long term.
Yeah.
So January 2nd,
mm-hmm.
What do you, because, unless it's an incident, like something happens. A lot of times an injury is a message.
Yeah.
Do you think there was a reason for this?
I have not talked about this with anybody, Gabby. I'm so grateful that happened. And you mentioned this earlier. This is what got me into the field. When I was 20, I was diagnosed with a degenerative disc condition as a kid. Okay. And I had 2 herniated discs. They were ridiculously degenerated. So much so, like the MRI they're almost black. Mm-hmm. And I was given a nocebo effect. This is incurable. You'll never walk normally again, because I was having this really difficult pain with my leg and being able to, fire my leg. And anyways, I went through standard of care and I just got worse and worse and worse. And eventually, this is just a mini version of this because I want to get to the new stuff. I decided to stop giving my power away I got multiple opinions. Each physician gave me another drug, bed rest, and they told me, this is incurable.
And you were like 20? How old were you?
20.
Yeah.
I was 20. So from 20, but to be that degenerated, that took years of degeneration. And at the time, I'm living in Ferguson, Missouri, and I'm being judicious here. 90% of my diet was ultra processed food. Mm-hmm. All right. I honestly, if I got up in time, I'd like eat some donuts or go to McDonald's, get McDonald's breakfast. I would routinely eat a box of macaroni and cheese as a meal, and then some fast food for dinner. Like literally I'm just eating. It was cheap, accessible. Obviously it tasted good, but I'm making my body out of absolute garbage. Yeah. All right. And so, just through a series of events, I was able to get access to certain teachers, certain books and studies, which again, are very kind of analytical and science minded. And so I was like, this is incurable, but this study says you have a dramatic increase in degeneration if you're deficient in omega-3s and the sulfur compounds. And, I didn't know vitamin C had anything to do with my bones and my disc, because I also broke my hip at track practice. All right. So I was falling apart as a kid. So long story short, I transformed the way I was eating, my movement practices, my sleep quality was huge. Once I started sleeping better, I started healing. And I completely regenerated those degenerated disc, those ruptured disc. They retracted on their own, and I got that volume back into my disc, which was supposed to be impossible, and it wasn't impossible. It's probable. Now getting back to what I haven't talked about yet. So I had I had a back injury from degeneration, resolved. Now I'm dealing with a trauma, like a sports injury.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a different way that this onset happens. And when that happened, that took me out. Like I was months. I was in so much pain. I had to speak at an event 2 weeks later in San Diego. I kneeled in the front of the plane. I couldn't, it was suffering. It was terrible. Just so happens the flight attendants on the flight down and back both had back problems, and they understood. So they were like, "It's okay, honey." And they were like catering to me. But, but that taught me, number one, my resolve and what I'm able to do. Even when I'm at my worst, I was able to make a huge impact at a speaking event for all those attendees. They would have not even known how much pain I was in. And I'm grateful for that. I don't want to do that again.
No.
But so that's number one. Number two, a couple months later, the world joined me. Because I was laid up, like I moved here to Los Angeles and the world is like passing me by. And a little sidebar, there were interactions or relationships that were reaching out to me that I might have said yes to that turned out to be and not so good, years later. But I didn't feel good about them then. But it would seem like on paper, like this is the right thing. Oh, this person is whatever. But it kept me, because I was a week from an interaction. That injury, I don't even know if there's anything short of that would have kept me from that. And then the world shut down. So life felt like it was going on around me. Now it stopped. And I felt at home. I felt comfortable. Everybody's just joining me on this and they're not ready for it. And not only that, now I'm starting to get better. And now I'm spending so much time in introspection as I'm in therapy, as I'm sitting in these chairs and meditation and, doing these different treatments and whatnot. And I'm thinking about things, and I'm thinking about how people are approaching the various mandates. Yeah. And I'm spending time in contemplation. I'm spending time talking to the top researchers. I'm spending time, researching and writing. I felt so comfortable and prepared for that moment. And some of the things that I did during that time absolutely changed the course of how everything eventually changed for the better, which it took some time. But there were several sessions of, Congress and things going on that were utilizing research that I really pushed into the mainstream. And I'm grateful for that. And even, like people like Tony Robbins reached out and said, one of the studies that you shared, which again, is just like, people are not looking at this. Like it's right here that I shared during that time based on how fear.
Well, you were very courageous. I had to tell you, that's one thing that I really appreciated was the ability to be courageous, because everything has been, so politicized instead of this idea of how do we all help each other and protect each other and protect our children. It's turned into, well, if you have that belief, then that whole other set of things must be your belief too. Yeah. Instead of ultimately, for me, it's also how do we protect our children? Yes. How do we protect newborn babies, pregnant women, and so I really appreciated your ability to have, and you didn't have the conversation around COVID or the protocols or the mandates or the vaccines. You didn't have it in a way that was ultra polarizing. I thought it was really interesting the way you almost diplomatically questioned it and dropped it off. And I thought that had its own power. Sometimes we don't have to blatantly attack things. Yeah. We can just say, well, what about that makes sense? And I thought you did that really artfully.
Thank you. I actually, I have the chills right now. That means so much, because that was my intention. Mm-hmm. It's part of the problem that got us into such a conflict was the finger pointing, everybody's wrong, instead of being able to understand. And it's one of my favorite quotes from St. Francis of Assisi is, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Yeah. Right. And so I'm just thinking, again, I had all that time in contemplation and quiet while everybody's going bonkers. I'm just actually spending my biggest rehab though, physically, was just walking up and down my block, which I could barely take 2 steps the first time I tried. And so I spent so much time, there's probably grooves in the street at this point. And funny enough, and this is years later now, I was walking 2 days ago and my neighbor pulled up on me and they're like, Shawn, I just want to let you know that we love to see you out here walking. It's inspired us so much. Now we're walking every evening and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And there's just like these heartwarming messages. And my neighbors saw me. They saw me barely able to walk. And now they see me sprinting. Now they see me pushing that tank. Now they see me kicking ass every day. Yeah. And that's what's possible, even with a ruptured disc from, a traumatic event. But I believe that happened so that I was ready and I was strong enough, the mental resolve to be able to help families, help our culture through such a tumultuous time.
I was thinking about this in the show, intuition versus programming. I'm programmed. It's like we're all programmed. We get input. I have to be careful. My biases lead me to certain input. Can I stay open-minded? Can I not feel defensive about input? How do you go out there and you stay curious and you stay learning, and you talked about your intuition, right? But then it's always making sure you're even questioning your beliefs with, is this my inner wisdom, my inner guidance, or is this connected to my programming? Because I'm always trying to muddle through those two places. Yeah. I wonder if you've developed any secrets to checking even that, because that's something I'm constantly working on.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say it, and I think everybody listening knows this. You're a very evolved human being. You're very thoughtful. And I know you might be like, well, I'm not. I'm kind of a cave. I'll fuck somebody up if I have to.
Well, just watch my parenting. You'd be like, oh, go back to first grade, Gabby.
But it's just the fact that you're thinking about your thinking is very powerful, and also being aware that you have your biases and you have your conditioning. And so I'm always checking in with those things. Like, is this something that I want to be right because I want it to be right? Or is it actually right? Is it right for this person? Is it right in this circumstance? Would it be right if this variable were different? And so it's approaching the data in a completely different way. And also, right where I'm at today, I'm really leaning so heavily into the power of N of 1 experiments.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. This podcast has been brought to you by Cornbread Hemp. If you're anything like me, you're always looking for natural ways to support your body, especially after training or just chasing life all day long. I sometimes think the life part's almost harder and crazier than the training. And lately, I've been adding Cornbread Hemp's full spectrum CBD gummies into my evening routine. And honestly, it's become one of my favorite rituals. Whether it's after a long day on my feet or just needing to unwind, these gummies help me settle in without making me feel foggy or off. They're USDA organic, made with real fruit, watermelon, berry, and peach. And what I love most is that Cornbread Hemp only uses the flower of the hemp plant. No stems, no seeds, no junk, just clean, potent CBD formulated to work with your body, not against it. If you've been searching for a more natural way to ease daily aches or discomfort, give Cornbread Hemp's full spectrum CBD gummies a try, and everything is third-party lab tested, so you know exactly what you're getting. I know that that's sometimes a concern and keeps us from even trying some of these products. And right now, my listeners will get on the Gabby Reece Show 30% off your first order and get free shipping on orders over $75. All you have to do, head to cornbreadhemp.com/Gabby. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Gabby. Don't forget to use the code Gabby at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Gabby and code Gabby.
And I'm saying that from somebody, I'm just going to keep it 1,000. People can go check my track record. I've been in this field for 22 years. Yeah. And this podcast medium and the approach to presenting data in a certain way, utilizing a peer-reviewed study, a meta-analysis on whatever the subject matter might be. And I did that intentionally. Again, I'm on record 15 years ago doing that, but I did it. And I'm going to tell you, now it's popular. Mm-hmm. All right. Many of my colleagues, my friends and colleagues, people that don't know as well, use that tactic to affirm something. Yeah. But I used it because I wasn't wearing a lab coat. I needed something for social proof and for connectivity to then talk about logic and common sense. So I intentionally used a study so that I could just talk about something that is obvious, right? And I'm grateful for that because we want to use science. But what happens is we can swing too far over to that direction and miss out on, this is still not applicable to everybody in every condition.
That's right.
And so where I'm at today is leaning into and also advocating for people to understand that they are unique, and your N of 1 experiments are more powerful than any of this shit. Any of the most well-constructed, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover studies. I love all that. This is where I live. I've probably been into more data and research than just about anybody walking around. And now it's just like, I'm just, even everything that I'm reading as far as like, peer-reviewed data, it's just like, it's coming with a implicit bias.
Yeah.
It's an implicit bias, and we make decisions based on that data. And that's okay as a starting point, but understand that you are unique. And this data might be saying that, we'll just use something simple. I'm going to say something crazy. Okay, walking 10,000 steps a day is the optimal. It's amazing. All right. Listen, it absolutely might be, but for some people, 10,000 steps a day might be fucking them up.
Yeah.
All right. And that sounds crazy, because what would be wrong with walking is maybe they have a variety of, like, maybe they have hip dysplasia, that maybe there's some kind of mechanical issue that their walking is making them worse. And it's not resolving this problem that they're trying to solve. And maybe they should be walking, 4,000 steps a day and then doing some elliptical or swimming in the pool,
bike or something.
Like 10,000 steps a day is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to even say that, because that just sounds crazy. But it's just, again, taking the research seriously, understanding that, if we've got some really well-constructed studies, that it's giving us a great baseline and overall advocation for some people, but N of 1 is the most important.
Laird always says less data, more experience. And, he's constantly just, because now I joke that, data now it's what we're doing instead of the doing of the doing. And I'm not sure why. I think people are overwhelmed. They're busy. I understand it. What's the reward? Because long-term plans, like, hey, if you eat like this in 20 years and in 10 years, it's hard for people sometimes to train and eat for the future. I get that. But what happens is I think when you've talked about it enough, I think most people arrive at this point you're making, which is really, hey, yeah, these seem to be pretty good, solid principles, and it's still on you to figure out what works for you and build your practice, your personal practice.
Let me give you an even better one, because the 10,000 steps ones, that's kind of still, it's difficult. Olive oil. All right. Olive oil, some people are taking shots, right? I've got colleagues that are just like, they're just so into olive oil. They've got, the blue zones, and we've got all this great data. I'll just share one study popping up, is conducted by some researchers at Auburn. And they found that, and this is the key, extra virgin, okay, so oleocanthal rich, cold pressed extra virgin olive oil was found to have this really interesting ability to actually help repair the blood-brain barrier. Okay, that's crazy, right? And if you're wondering how your blood-brain barrier could be breaking down, one of the big ways is sugar consumption. But anyways, so they found that it helps to essentially reduce neuroinflammation, brain inflammation. And why does that matter? Some researchers at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine found that this brain inflammation might be the biggest issue that we're facing right now. And they said that it's a double-edged sword. So they found that patients with more neuroinflammation had higher amounts of belly fat and insulin resistance. And people with higher amounts of insulin resistance and belly fat had more brain inflammation. So it was like feeding into each other, this vicious circle. And olive oil has this ability to kind of put the fire out in a weird way. It's really interesting. Great. That's awesome. It's got all these great benefits, but for some people, their metabolism just doesn't handle it well, and it can make them sick. It can create symptoms that they might not realize is coming from the olive oil. It's not good for everybody. It's probably good for most people. All right. I like olive oil, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's not appropriate, and that's okay. That N of 1 is more important. And this speaks to, you have to pay attention to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, today, and this is where I kind of defer a little bit, where I was very much pro like tracking and self-quantification. Now I'm kind of, you see, I don't have a ring on. I don't have, I've got a regular watch on.
This goes back, for me, this is, okay, think about every great professor, every great coach, they can distill it down to the simplest place. And I think when you've done and circumnavigated all of these topics, and we'll get into some of it, nutrition and hormones and sleep and all these things and the metrics and the studies and all these things, you get back to, oh yes, and when you eat that thing, how did you sleep? Well, how was your elimination? Were you more tired or did you have energy? Getting back to the thing that we don't really want to do, which is you can't farm it out. Nobody can tell you. If those trackers get you going and you gamify it, and then you start to get aware, like that alcohol I saw my sleep go, even though you couldn't figure that out. Okay, I'm cool with that for a bit. But then to your point, I think it goes back to, how did I feel? How did I feel? And it is really interesting that we have made it really noisy and kind of, my heart rate variability. I'm like, are you serious right now? You don't even know what that means or what that shows up. And we used to joke like, you didn't sleep well. You probably shouldn't train. No, but I kind of feel good today. I might be able to get after it, and it's sort of, or the flip. You're looking good. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't feel great. So I'm going to pull back a little on my training. So maybe you've just been having a lot of the conversations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're going back to like everything, right? The essence.
Yes. Yeah. This is so awesome. My wife is such a big fan of her wearables and the tracking and all that. Yeah. And for her, again, it was a catalyst for her to do the things she's doing. She loves showing me her steps. Yeah. She loves it. And I've never been like, you know what? Fuck that thing. You know what I mean? Just, no. I've been telling you this for years. Like, just come with me for a walk. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But that is working for her.
That's right.
And the most important thing, so not to negate the value of that, have the audacity today more than ever when you're so externally focused to spend some time analyzing what's going on within you. Pay attention to how you feel, how you perform, how you look can tell a lot, and just paying attention to your internal terrain. It is a revolutionary idea right now because, again, we're so distracted. We're so externally focused. And I'm telling you right now, and I know AI is listening to me. I know AI is listening. And a little fun fact, by the way, which I didn't know this. A listener told me this, and I went and looked. I don't know if it's as of now, but this was like maybe 6 months ago. But they were like, Shawn, I went and asked ChatGPT, what is a good health podcast to help me to get healthy? And the Model Health Show is the number one answer. Oh. AI thinks I'm number one, which is awesome. All right. AI is here. Where is our attention going to go or find the most value right now? It's not going to be these external things because we're barely getting warmed up with AI and virtual experiences. I'm telling you right now, the most valuable thing you can do for yourself, for your health and your future is to spend more time being human. Spend more time in your body, paying attention to what's going on, and spend more time around real people in the real world. We don't have any kind of supplement. We don't have any kind of hack. There's nothing that can replace this. This is the basis of my work now for the past maybe 2-3 years. Yeah. I'm a nutritionist. That's how I got into this field, working as a strength and conditioning coach and a nutritionist once I graduated. Food was everything. Food helped to heal me, you know? The truth is, and where we are today with the data, the biggest data set ever conducted, longitudinal human study, tracking what is the number one thing that contributes to a longer lifespan. Dr. Robert Waldinger out of Harvard, fourth director of this study. Yeah. It is the quality of your relationships determine how long you're going to live and live healthfully. And add to that, prior to me even talking to Dr. Waldinger and having some great conversations.
The Harvard study is how old? Like 80 years old or something?
80 years old, all right? Following people.
It's crazy.
Right? And they pull up at their house, after a year, they find you in, Tahiti, and they take your blood and your hormone panel, all this. It is incredibly well done. Yeah. But prior to that, I came across a study that was conducted by researchers at University of North Carolina and Brigham Young University. This was the largest data set outside of that This looked at over 300,000 test subjects in 148 separate studies. And they looked at smoking habits. They looked at obesity. They looked at diet. They looked at exercise habits. They looked at every aspect of human life that they can, kind of put into this algorithm. And the researchers were shocked to find that the number one thing that determined how long somebody's going to live was the quality of their relationships. And so much so, now listen to this, they found that people who have healthy relationships or strong social bonds have a 50% boost in longevity versus people who don't. Said another way, people who have strong, healthy social relationships have a 50% reduction from all-cause mortality, from death, from everything. All right, it is that powerful. And so talking to Dr. Waldinger, I asked why, and he's like, he's a very skeptical person like me, which I love that. And he was like, based on our data, the best assumption that I can come to is that it has to do with stress. And having somebody or some bodies in your life that you can offload, that you not necessarily even tell your problems to, just to be around, just to be there for you, helps you to metabolize and process stress. And that's one side. The other side is, which is the thing that I've been pushing into culture, smoking behaviors, exercise, diet, all these things matter. Sleep, all those things matter so much, but your relationships affect all that shit.
Yeah.
It's like the tip of the spear. My wife affects my sleep more than anybody. My wife affects what I eat, my exercise habits more than anybody, bar none. It's not even close. All right. And so the quality of that relationship is going to affect all those other practical health things that I do. And so wouldn't our attention be better focused cultivating healthy relationships that are supportive of our health goals? And that's where we're being robbed in our education. I was not taught that shit in my expensive university education.
So many thoughts around this. So I live with Justin is sitting here and he knows Laird very well. I live with a very confrontational person, which really helped me, because sometimes we think confrontational is combative. It doesn't. It just means there's no elephant in the room. Like whenever anything's there, I call it pulling the weeds. Laird is always like, oh, there's a weed. What is that? What's this? What's that? What's that look? What's that thing? Hey, I didn't like that, the way you said that to me. Like it's constant, right? And it was really good for me because sometimes we get trained stoicism, right? Especially if you come through athletics, right? Suck it up, all these things. So I was very stoic and I thought, oh, that's a good way to be, to be strong and to be all those things. But it's halfway strong. Right? Because then either you blow up, you melt down, you walk out, whatever the thing eventually will happen. And so learning how to be uncomfortable for a very short period of time in that conflict and to somehow find the way to be loving and direct and maybe not even blame the other person. You can say, hey, this is occurring, so I'm feeling like this, not you made me or it's your fault. Yeah. I'm willing to be uncomfortable for 30 minutes, an hour, a day, to avoid, the sweep under the rug, where you build up, because then you'll hear, right, the worst thing you can have in a relationship is resentment. Yeah. Years and years. And then all of a sudden people resent each other. They say this is like maybe the most dangerous thing. And so I really appreciate that comment, but I'm wondering, besides modeling it for your own children, where did you learn that? Did your parents model that? Was it a skill that you then picked up as a married person?
Thank you for asking this question. I'm going to start by saying life qualifies you for certain things.
This podcast is brought to you by Fatty 15. If you listen to this podcast at all, you probably get the sense that I care about not only how I feel now, but also I am trying to age in a way where I do stay strong and sharp and energized. But the truth is, I've noticed some changes. I mean, listen, whether it's slow recoveries after my workout, joint stiffness, I think that's an ongoing thing, and sleep that could be a lot deeper. And me, like so many of you, I've tried a lot of wellness products over the years, but I want to tell you about a product that really stands out, and I've been taking it for years now, Fatty 15. It isn't a trend. It's backed by real science. Fatty 15 is powered by something called C15. It's the first essential fatty acid that's been discovered in over 90 years. And C15 helps our cells stay strong and resilient. So it's slowing the aging process down from the inside out. So it's vegan friendly, free of flavors, fillers, allergens, and even preservatives. And 72% of Fatty 15 customers report seeing or feeling benefits within 16 weeks, including improved metabolic, liver, and heart health, smoother functioning joints, deeper sleep, so important, or healthier hair, skin, and nails. It's like whatever motivates you. And something else I appreciate about Fatty 15 is that it comes in just a nice little glass bamboo jar. It's reusable. All you do is you get your refills. They're shipped right to your door. They make it very easy. Fatty 15, they are on a mission. They want to optimize your C15 levels to help you stay and live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. And all you have to do is head to fatty15.com/Gabby. And by using the code Gabby at checkout, you'll get 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. That's fatty15.com/Gabby, fatty15.com/Gabby. And don't forget to use Gabby at checkout.
I grew up in two very, very different environments, and I'm biracial. I'm mixed, half black, half white, essentially. And I grew up in the '80s, so I was kind of rare back then. Now it's everywhere, they're popular. But growing up in as different, like I went to a predominantly white school for a time where it's like 98% white, and then I went to a predominantly black school where it's like 98% black. When I was from kindergarten to second grade, I lived with my grandmother, my white grandmother and white grandfather, and went to an all-white school in Maplewood, Missouri. And, of course, I was made aware by the environment that I was different. The most important thing, though, is like I didn't know that I was different until a couple of instances because of my household. My grandmother, I'm grateful that she was even rocking with me. She's got this little mixed baby with an afro, you know what I mean? And in 1983 or whatever the case might be. And the love that I received in that household, and my grandmother and my grandfather were an entity. They were an entity. You hardly say one's name without the other. It's Meemaw and Pop. And I know a lot of people got a Meemaw, Mimi, Peepaw, Papa, whatever. But, it's Meemaw. It was my Meemaw and my Pop. And they love each other. Not to say they didn't have a conflict, but I never saw them fight. All I saw was him loving her, and both of them really loving me. And he was a very tough person. Like, he's a hunter. He would forage. He grew up in southern Missouri, and he was just a very rugged. He had the pack of cigarettes rolled up in his white t-shirt, kind of, like he grew up decades earlier with that kind of, he was cool, also.
Don't you think, let me ask you a question. I have found typically that those type of men are also the most loving, the most sensitive. People get it wrong about what they're seeing, I find.
Yeah, they definitely can be, and I didn't know until he passed. Around when I met my wife and my girlfriend at the time. But he, in the hospital, he wanted to see his two sons. He only had one son, my Uncle Leroy, but he met me, And, but he was a stern force, definitely. This was the 80s. So, if I got in trouble, he'd have me go get a switch off the tree.
Wait, I just have to say, you had a white grandparents with a white son named Leroy?
Yes.
Is that like a joke? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
My Uncle Leroy. I know. It seems
sorry.
It would have been the other side. But my other side had Uncle Larry. So, all
you
the
got a
standard
switch, you got
Leroy. And so, this kind of stern force, but also, again, they were this entity, and this was something that was imprinted on me, that love can be like this.
Yep.
When he passed away, it wasn't long before she passed away. She literally waited until I got married, and she made sure that I was good.
Yep.
And then she died of a broken heart. So I had that imprinted on me, and there's a stark contrast to, once he started having health problems, they moved back to the country, which was Southern Missouri, Piedmont to be exact. And I was a child still. I was just finishing second grade. There was a decision to be made. Do I go and live with them, like in Klan country, or do I go and live with my mom in the inner city? And, she was just, again, trying to string things together, make ends meet. And my mom was just trying to give me an opportunity as well by being with them and going to school. And so I went to live with my mom and my stepfather. And I had a little brother and sister at this point. I'm 5 years older than my little brother and 7 years older than my little sister. But I go from this environment where I have safety, certainty, routines, and a lot of love to an environment where there's violence in the household. There's routinely, my stepfather's an alcoholic, and, my mom's just, pack a day smoking, chain smoking, more than a pack a day, just chain smoking. And all of us got asthma now, go figure, Yeah. But they were, it was a lot of fighting, it was a lot of violence. And I started to pick that up, and I started to, believe that I solved my problems through violence as well. And so I'm picking up these things, and I'm seeing my mom would put me in on the lies a lot. Like, don't tell your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Because she's hustling to try to make ends meet. And, the thing that I admire and love about my mom is that she always had her kids with her. All her little scams and hustles, like, we were right there. She didn't leave us, And I can only look back as an adult and say that, at the time, though, I was not rocking with her like that. Like, no, this is messed up. Like, I don't want to be here. So anyways, and so they had an incredibly dysfunctional relationship, and it didn't last. It lasted until just about when I went to college, and, eventually they separated. And, and I didn't have any other examples of people who had been together and had a healthy relationship. Not a single example of people that I personally knew, except there was one other. My mom put me into the desegregation program. So I'm getting bussed out to the, quote, good schools in the county. And I had a friend out there who lived out there, is a black kid, another black kid. And he invited me to stay at his house. So I would have sleepovers at my friend John Clement's house. And it was like a sitcom. It was like Family Matters. All right. His dad was a police officer of some sort, like a parole, something. And, his mom was in medical field. He had his older sister, and I think she was in college to be a nurse. It's just very you guys just, you don't fight. It's there's food here all the time. My favorite teacher lived on the other side of their backyard. It's just this is magical. This is crazy. So I got that little imprint. And I'm saying all this to say that those life experiences imprinted on me early. They stuck with me. And I had a long phase of doing what my environment was teaching me, which was messing with a lot of different girls and not valuing interpersonal relationships. If there's a problem, I'm out. And these were all things that I just kind of saw in my environment. Because again, I didn't know any married couples who were together. All my mom's friends, they were single women, or they maybe had a boyfriend or whatever. It's just this is all I saw. And so when I met my wife, so I was 24 and I was in my last year of my degree. I was a super duper senior at this point because of this super quick sidebar. I got kicked out of college. The first university I went to, this private university. I had a scholarship, academic scholarship, for fighting. Yeah. So some stuff happened, and I solved my problems with violence because of the environment I come from. So eventually, thankfully, I got accepted to another university, University of Missouri, St. Louis. And when I meet my wife, just a year earlier, thank God I didn't meet her, because I was just messing with a lot of different girls.
Mm-hmm. When you got those eyes too, I'm sure you're winning them all over with those light green eyes, right?
I don't know.
I know. We know the type. Don't worry.
Well,
his eyes. Yeah, Justin, his eyes.
I don't know what it was, but it was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay. And so what happened though, when I met her, a transformation happened where those imprints from my childhood, because, and I'm going to tell you what it was and what a lot of people are lacking in their relationship context. I transformed my health before I met her.
I was going to ask you if the transformation of changing your health and the way you ate, do you think gave you some runway? It's distance. We always say, you know, whether it's stimulus and response, did it give you that runway maybe?
So I was 22 and a half when I made that decision to get well and change the way I was eating. And somebody came up to me at the university. It was 6 weeks, by the way, after making that decision. I had a friend, it was a girl that I was talking to, messing with for like a couple of years, like on and off, you know, and she was like a grown woman though. You know, she was like, I think she was almost 30. She was in chiropractic school, but I just thought she was so weird. Okay. And when I made this decision to get well, like a week later, I'd known her all this time, but now she takes me to Wild Oats, right? Which is like been bought by Whole Foods. But like I drove past that place probably 1,000 times. I didn't know it existed. And now I'm here and I go over to these books and I'm like looking at these studies in these books. I immediately, and I was like, what the fuck? I had no idea. And, but anyways, that experience of like getting well, and somebody came up to me at my university after 6 weeks of changing the way I was eating, my exercise, all this, I lost almost 20 pounds, which, and again, results not typical. I gained a lot of weight. I'm naturally just kind of a thinner person.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, I probably was close to 200 pounds. And so like that weight flew off of me. Like it was like probably 16, 18 pounds I lost in about a month and a half, getting close to 2 months, we'll say. And so I'm walking around at school. I feel so good. My teacher stopped me after class. He was like, Shawn, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm like, what did I do? He was like, so what happened? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you look so healthy. What did you do?
Hey everybody, Gabby here. And it's really important for me that if I'm going to share any product with you, that I use it myself. I've tried it and I actually have a relationship with it. And the other thing is I'm doing my best. I'm trying to fuel my body with clean, intentional foods. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Lineage. Lineage is a company rooted in ancestral nutrition and radical transparency. Lineage was founded by two health forward docs, Dr. Paul Saladino and Dr. Anthony Gustin, and they're both on a mission to bring back real nutrient-dense, nose-to-tail foods. Their grass-fed beef and organ sticks and air-dried steaks are next level, slow-dried for up to 10 days to preserve nutrients. They're flavor-packed and totally clean. They have no seed oils, no weird fillers, no junk, just real food the way nature and our ancestors intended. They also just launched new flavored meat sticks made from 100% grass-fed, regeneratively raised beef with a touch of heart and liver for added nutrients, but you wouldn't know. You can't taste the organs at all, believe me. It goes over big in my house. And they've spiced only with organic steam serialized herbs, no iridations, no natural flavors, that's a big one, no junk, just real food. They've got flavors like spicy Southwest and garlic and onion, and they are so delicious and perfect for keeping protein high when we're on the go, like especially in summer, maybe at work. Lineage also third-party tests all of their products, every single batch, so you know you are getting clean, real food. You will get 15% off Lineage provisions. All you have to do is use the code GABBY. So you can head to lineageprovisions.com/Gabby Reece at lineageprovisions/Gabby Reece. And don't forget to use the code GABBY for 15% off your entire order.
He ended up becoming my client. A girl stopped me on campus who was a friend of mine's younger sister. And she was like, can you help me do whatever you did? And I was like, sure. You know, what are you doing Saturday? And then we made an appointment just to like work out at the gym. And then she was like, how much should I pay you? And that's when time stopped. And I was like, I was like in my head, like you would pay me to do something I'm going to do anyways. And this is a true story. I said, $7? $7 a session. Because at the time, $7 an hour was a nice job in St. Louis. And so that really was the start of my career. And this brings me to my point, which is being of service to all these people. I started working with people from all over the world. Every day, I was so on fire because I've been told it was impossible for me to heal. And these people have been told these same stories or something similar. And now they're getting well and they're getting these results. And so every day I was being about service. I went from being very self-centered because of my environment to being somebody who is passionate about helping other people.
I really appreciate that. I thought about this, like we're all here at this giant table of life, you know, and we're all here together. And I feel like each of us knows that we sort of, we can bring something to the table, you know, like that's part of what we're doing here, to bring forth one of our, whatever we can contribute to the big tribe.
Yeah.
Right. And I wondered, now that you've gone through all these experiences, at least where you sit today, because you have your family. So of course that's the obvious, what you're going to bring forward for them. But to the tribe of life, from your show, from all these things, if you sort of thought, well, this is what I'm bringing to the table, what do you think that is? What do you think the gift that you're bearing forward into the world?
I mean, I think I kind of know what it is just as of now. You know, it's, you know, congruency. And I'm just basing this off of what people say to me and, you know, the messages that come in, just like one of the most frequent messages is, it wasn't just about me helping people to get healthy. It was helping them to be a better father or a better mother, you know, being better in their relationships or with their children. One of the consistent messages is, you know, you don't understand, like, you didn't just help me, you helped my whole family. Right. And it's because my family is imbued into what I do. And it's very like apparent. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my family. And they're a part of this. This is not a separate thing. I'm not part-time healthy and health guy. Like, this is all a part of who I am. And I'm very genuine in expressing that. And to tie that into something early and like, how did I figure this out? This like management in relationships and like, how do you do this? We have to make it a study. You know, if it's important to you, you have to make it a study. And certain things just tend to come up at the time when you're ready for them. And again, I used to be like, is this the intuition? Is this that freaky stuff that you don't really understand? But my wife and I, early on, not to say that we had having a challenge, like we weren't really connected like that, you know, like we were super connected. And then there was this weird period when like we were both we were sold something, which was like, you can be enlightened, right? And that's eternal bliss. You know, you can, you know, you're not going to have these problems anymore. And so we were like meditating a lot. We were going to retreats. We're doing all this stuff.
You were doing spiritual?
Yes. We're doing all of that, you know, and because I saw the value initially, but then it can quickly spiral into, you know, you're an op, like you're blocking my enlightenment. Like I'm so enlightened doing this meditation, but then why are you telling me about, you know, some bill? Like, get the fuck out of here with that, you know, like these kind of conflicts. And what happened was Tony Robbins, I mentioned him earlier, funny enough. It's pretty dope that I know Tony Robbins, pretty cool. But he had a program, it was called Lovers for Life. And it was like, this is back in the day, so it was like CDs come in the mail or whatever. And so we listened to this together and it changed everything. Because I realized she doesn't love like I love. She loves differently. And so he basically shared these 6 human needs, right? And it was the need for certainty, uncertainty, and variety,
right?
Significance, love, growth, and contribution. And all of us need these things. These are human needs psychologically. And I analyze them like, is there something missing? And I could find pretty much everything within those. And I saw for the first time, and she saw for the first time, that our primary love language, which is another great book you could look into, they were different. My biggest priority at the time was love and growth. Those were my 2 biggest driving forces. For her, it was certainty and love. right? And so we crossed over with love.
And sometimes growth can be in conflict with certainty. I mean, it's
Yes.
like, you know,
Yes.
because it's like, hey, we're going to take this risk and this chance and we're going over here. And it's
Come
like,
on.
oh.
When we went to that TEDx talk, true story, where all of this happened, she did not want to go because we didn't have no business going. We didn't have the money. We took a flight there from a friend of ours. She worked for the airline. So we flew standby. Which was dope. I mean, I just thought like our friend, we can just get on. And when we first went to Las Vegas, we just got right on the plane. It was easy. Coming back, it's called standby for a reason.
Yeah, in the drunk waiting room of Vegas.
They told me that we were about to get on the flight, and they're like, I can't get on because I wasn't dressed properly.
Oh, that's right.
Because you represent the airline now. So now I'm running through the airport because I remember walking past a golf shop, and I go and I get like this golf outfit. And I look like fucking Tiger Woods or whatever, and I want to punch myself in the face again. And I'm racing back trying to get, and we missed this flight. And then we ended up not getting the other flight after that. And we ended up having to stay in a different city in Dallas the next day and all this stuff because we didn't have those resources, right? I was doing well enough to like just get by, right? And that was a constant stressor for her. And now we're bringing this baby into the world, all right? And these are those defining moments. Like I knew, and guess what came from that though? Me taking that risk came me sitting here with you today.
Yeah.
And the initiation into this podcast medium would not have happened at that time had we not gone. And it changed everything. But when I realized that her biggest need was like, she had a big need for certainty. And I'm just going to share this. When she was pregnant with my son. So this is like Missouri winters are cold and the gas bill was just a little late. Yep. And so they cut the gas off.
Yep.
And so we're downstairs around the stove at night. And I'm just like remembering what we learned in the program. Like, I will never let this happen again. I will never let this happen again. And here's the cool thing that I want to share. Once I focused on taking care of her certainty needs, she became the growth person. Yeah. She started pushing me. She started coming up with these ideas and these revelations and these insights and all. And to this day, like she's just like a machine with these things when she feels like everything is taken care of. Yeah. Right. And now things are obviously very different, but they show up in different ways with uncertainty. Yeah. Right. It's like, you know, it might be some kind of a bill or whatever. It's just like, we have more than enough, but she's like, but we got this and this and this and this.
Yeah. Well, like, we're hyper vigilant when females, technically, I feel like we're always scanning the horizon. And I think it's very, very common that we're that's why we're good at things. We're planning and, you know, for the future, like, oh, the baby's going to need a change of clothes, a snack, of this or that. And then tomorrow they have this, you know, so I think that's why we're good at certain things. I can relate to that in so many ways. You know, the famous line that Laird says to me is, everything's going to be okay. And then he looks at me and he's like, and it is okay. And sometimes I need to be reminded of that. I think, you know, we started this conversation talking about needing each other. It's biology too. That's why I always encourage people. I'm like, get to know your biology a little bit, because some of your tendencies, behaviors, impulses will make more sense to you than you think you're a bad person because you want to overeat or you feel lazy. Yeah. It's actually biology. In rounding out this conversation, listen, I could sit you here and, you know, your show talks about sleep and nutrition and movement and hormones. You go into these conversations from every angle over and over. And maybe I thought that would be part of the conversation, but I think there's something more important. So I'm going to stay in the more important in ending this is, you know, you have a young adult son. I have adult daughters and young adult daughters. A lot of times kids want to know like who they should be versus how they should be, right? And I wondered as a dad, just what has shown up for you as something that you couldn't have come into parenting with this skill, but you've learned is really one of the most supportive that you could be for your children. Besides obviously modeling it,
I mean, this is going to be Captain Obvious. I think the most essential thing is just proximity, being around them so I can see these things, right? I could pick up, you can catch the monster while it's small before it gets too big.
Yeah.
You can, and also pouring into their psychological need to feel significant, to feel seen, where today so many people are distracted. If they're looking for these followers, they're looking for likes, they're looking for this affirmation from the outside world. And so being there and actually seeing them and listening to the sound of their voice and being present with them, it's like fueling them up with a superpower in today's society. And also something that I teach them proactively, and it pisses me off. It does piss me off. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. I
think that's another superpower today, because, you want to accomplish this thing. My oldest son is a phenomenal personal trainer. And if, you want to create this successful business, you better have the same tenacity towards washing these fucking dishes as you do working on this business. Like, it's a habit, right? It's a habit of greatness. It's a habit of efficiency and effectiveness. And it's also a habit of love and care, because you should not be wanting to serve your family on some shitty plates, right? And he's a great dishwasher, by the way. But like for my youngest son, right? Same thing. Like, I want to see these habits of excellence in all that you do. Don't just half-ass do stuff. Like, put intention behind it. If you're doing something, do it fully. Be present. Really do your best. And that's going to translate over into other things where, again, a lot of kids today, instant gratification is just the norm. It's seeped into every area of their lives.
It is.
And so being able to instill in them also the power. The reason that I'm here with you today is the power of consistency. I never stopped. That's all. I've seen many friends and colleagues come and go in this podcast medium, right? I just never stopped, because it wasn't about the numbers. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about none of that stuff. I didn't even know that was even a thing. I just wanted to help, and I would do it for free. And at this point, I feel like I would do it for free forever, and that might change. I don't know, but understanding, like, no matter what, I'm going to show up. And life happens. All kinds of crazy stuff has happened in these 13 years. But every time that show is scheduled on that Monday and Wednesday, those episodes are going to be there for you. I'm rocking with you no matter what. And so that consistency piece and dedication to excellence, and how you do anything is how you do everything. These are like things that I model, but also I talk to them about. And the most important ability to talk to them, it's not coming as this outside dad who's like, hey,
right, phoning it in.
Right. I'm present with them.
Yeah. You earned it.
We are doing shit together.
Yeah.
They feel safe with me. They feel confident in me. They trust me. And so when I say these things, they understand that it's real.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, you hold space for a lot of other people. There's something interesting when you get put in a place in life where you can accommodate others, you can serve others. How do you stay charged up, though? That's
a great question. And it changes. Like, there was a time when that was, just my time, my daily investment, right? My meditation practice, training, whatever, just time by myself, because I like to be by myself. But there's a season where, there can be seasons where that's not appropriate. That's not enough. And I had one of those seasons not too long ago, just a lot of life transitions at one time. Father passed away. My wife's father passed away. Like, my oldest son moved out. Like, all these things happened at one time, and more, so much more stuff. And everybody was pulling on me. And I had built up a reserve for years. And I really showed up during that time. And I never think about showing up. That's the thing. Right. I was so depleted that now I can look back and I can say it. Yeah. Right? Because I made sure everything happened. I made sure everything got done. And it was just like, I was right at the edge and I didn't know it. Because what happens essentially, I like to think of, as far as our capacity, it's like every time we, engage in a practice to fill ourselves up, we're like adding on dirt, right? We're adding it, and we can build a mountain. Like I'm looking at a huge, awesome mountain out of your window right here. And I had that. Mm-hmm. And just that year just kept digging and digging. And for most people today, they're barely above ground, or they're digging into that hole.
Yeah, that starting point.
They're digging into that hole. Yeah. And you feel it. With all that being said, for me personally right now, this is so awesome. I just want to thank you, because obviously I talk about science all the time, and, and all these different, nutrition and sleep and those kind of things. But I feel so grateful to talk to you today, because I could just talk about this stuff, talk about me. And I don't do that often. So thank you. But what it was for me was to give myself permission to feel how I feel.
Yeah.
So giving myself permission to be mad, giving myself permission to feel and to recognize like anything that I'm worried about, that's troubling me, because I never, ever talked about that stuff. I just show up and get shit done. Mm-hmm. And so like now I'm vocal. Like I tell my wife, like I'm not good. I don't think I've ever said those words in my life until like a year ago. And so sharing that and trusting that she's going to acknowledge me for that, but not banking on her to do it. Because if she doesn't, I can be mad, and that's okay. I could be angry. That doesn't mean I have to take it out on her. But, and I'm saying this, and I know this is true for me, all of that bottling up shows up in your body. And so I had an issue when I was 20 from degeneration, which I resolved. I had a sports injury in 2020, 20 years later, that I resolved. Complete reversal of that disc injury, herniation was bad, which I'm so grateful. And then just not even a year ago, like when I kind of, again, after going through that year, losing my father and all the things, I had this flare up of all those symptoms I had from those injuries with no injury, psychosomatic.
Yeah.
Once I reached that tipping point, like, and you could see like it was a certain event. After all these events, then this event happened. I took care of it. And then my body was like, you about to feel this now. And while I was rehabbing, I went to the park. The park was beautiful, midday, sunny California day, pretty much empty. And I'm just walking, and it's so beautiful. I'm like, I'm so grateful I get to do this. And then I just start feeling so angry for nothing. There was nothing for me to be angry about, but I just felt it and I saw it. In 2020, when I got well, amidst all the chaos going on around me, I got well because I was angry and I wanted to fight for everybody. So I might have showed up like very balanced and logical, but I was mad. I was mad that we were doing this to each other.
Yeah.
And I was training I was doing all this training. I was fucking mad. I was like, yeah, okay. And I just embedded that into my body and my cells. And I just kept going ever since then. And after all those things happened, it started to come out.
Yeah.
Because also I tend to be very mild-mannered, like even with my family, and I tend to be very like patient and logical. And this was not me before I met my wife.
Yeah.
Even in the beginning, I wasn't patient. And I worked on those things, but I did it to a fault. Because I felt like I had to be that person. Instead of acknowledging that I hurt too,
I've learned this living with Laird for almost 30 years. Sometimes, especially a dutiful male, doesn't get to say like, I feel like this is unfair, or does anyone appreciate really how much I'm holding space for all of you? Because I think in certain dynamics, certain things are easier for the female generally, and they don't actually realize how much the male is working on something. And then everyone, I think it's not about a recognition, but it's also about being like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I see that what you're doing actually takes a different kind of work. And I could appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could appreciate that.
That's the other piece is like,
yeah.
How do you know this? That was the exact thing that I was trying to find the words for. I hurt.
Yeah.
And I could say that. And also I would sacrifice myself for everybody. And I just want to know that you see me.
Yeah. How about like, I've learned like, hey, thanks. I really appreciate you. Because it is a silent thing. I don't need to address all the reasons why, but sometimes maybe what's easy for you is harder for me. And maybe what's easier for me is harder for you. Yeah. And having somebody recognize, or you can say, I feel like I'm grateful and I feel like life's unfair in this moment. Yeah. It feels really unfair and I'm kind of aggravated about it. And I think that's okay too.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Shawn, I could talk to you all day and I really appreciate it. So just remind people, we have the Model Health Show. You have a lot of books out there. What's great is you have programs, you have really starting points for people where they want to start to care for themselves if they're at a beginning point. And so, I encourage people if they're in need of that to not only find your show, but your books, Sleep Smarter even. You've got all kinds of programs available to people. In closing up, I just want to leave one last space for you. If there was a sort of an invitation, if there's something in the ether for you that really feels important to you that we haven't talked about today, that you like to invite people or just remind them before we sign off.
Thank you. The thing that immediately that I felt, and I'm just going to say what came up for me is, everybody listening to, I don't know how to say this, but because it sounds so cliche and simple, but to find a way to give, do something to give, not just get to give back, but to give forward, to give some kind of a way. This past weekend, which I haven't shared this with anybody, I wasn't intending on sharing this, but this is kind of the shit we got going here. We just did an event. There's an incredible personal trainer, who's been doing a free community workout for folks in Inglewood for years. And so maybe like 60 to 80 people come out every Saturday, completely free. It is amazing. She's so great, so giving. There's kids like from 3 to people who are 80, and they're all working together, and she's got levels for everybody. And so I wanted to do something for these individuals who are like taking action to be better. And so I came out, I did a little talk for everybody, and we gave copies of the USA Today national bestseller, my most recent one, the cookbook, the Eat Smarter Family Cookbook, and gave everybody a copy. I signed books, all that kind of stuff, just finding ways to give. But it's not just that, it's the time with everybody. Yeah. Because I was there long after I was supposed to be, just hanging out and making people feel seen. You don't have to do something extravagant like giving away or like whatever. If you can, do it. But it's making people feel seen right now. Find a way to give of your time, give of your resources. There's this tithing phenomenon, like it tends to just come back to you as well. Yeah. And we need that. We need each other. And there's so many people that feel like they don't matter. They don't feel seen. They don't feel significant. It can be so powerful. Just even when I stopped to get you a gift on the way, just like the person there at the store, at the counter, and just like, we had like she was like, do you want me to put this in put the bag together for you? Like, because I saw her and I talked to her like a person, and I don't know why I'm feeling called to say that, but just please find a way to give of, just your time, your energy, your resources. Find a way. I think this is how we make the world just a little bit better. Yeah. And if we want to get scientific, studying the brain, when you give, not only does the person have this uptake in serotonin and all these kind of beneficial hormones, neurotransmitters, we have it too. Yeah. So you could even be a little selfish in your giving. All right. If that helps you to push that button on giving a little bit more. But do that. Do it today. Do it today. Give something today. Maybe it's just a text. Send somebody a text and say, hey, I was thinking about you. I love you. Hope you're doing good.
Yeah.
All right. So give. That's the takeaway.
Shawn Stevenson, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. This podcast has been brought to you by Laird Superfood. I know it's not fair. Laird Superfood was started in my kitchen, so yes, I'm excited to share it with you. It was started about 10 years ago. Not only does my entire family consume it, but Laird and I work on every product. What goes in the bag, the testing, we have really strict guardrails, but forget all that. It is so delicious. We've got coffees, Peruvian high altitude, low acidic coffees. We've got delicious creamers, bars, greens. But the thing I want to share with you today is our instant category. Now, a lot of times people think, oh, instant. Believe me, not only do we not sacrifice on ingredients, but it is so delicious and so convenient. So let's say you're on the go. Maybe you're working in an office or traveling on an airplane or maybe heading to college. I love our instant category so much because all you have to do is add hot water. If you like to ice your stuff, you can easily do that too, but it's so easy to use. It has high level coffee ingredients with our creamers. We've got instant latte, instant mocha, our latest instant vanilla latte. It is so delicious. I'm not a real vanilla girl, but I love this instant vanilla latte. Why? First of all, we use real vanilla, no natural flavors, no artificial flavors, no weird ingredients. Just incredible ingredients, MCT oils, so really nice for your energy, that sustained energy. You don't crash and kind of get like caffeine up and jittery down. Just a nice, smooth delivery. And again, it's so simple to use. All you do is add hot water wherever you are. So if you've never checked out Laird Superfood, by all means, see if what product suits your lifestyle the best. But I want to tell you, I love our instant products. And actually, pretty soon, in about 2 weeks, we're even going to have our instant pumpkin latte for those of you who like that little spicy bit. And if you're not a coffee drinker, I even have instant matcha, really, really trendy, and instant chai. And if you want to, head to lairdsuperfood.com. And if you put in the code Gabby20, so it's LAIRDSUPERFOOD.com. And don't forget to use the code Gabby, Gabby20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. I promise you will find something that not only you love, but will make your life just a little tastier, easier, and more energized.